Preparing. Here we go. We are now being live streamed. Greetings, family. Welcome to the Sister Shanice Show. Yes, it's Wednesday. It's Ujama Day. And as you can see, I have two of my three guests in the house already. So we have Sister Sheila, who those of you who have been with us for some time will know. And those of you who are fairly new to the Sister Shanice Show, you will get to know Sister Sheila. And we have our brother Pigpin in the house as well. Brother Pigpin is joining us all the way from Kenya. And yesterday we're going to be talking about the revolutionary protests that have been happening in Kenya. You know, those of us who have been looking at the world from a Pan-Africanist perspective have been seeing this day coming. But although we knew the day was coming, none of us actually knew when the day would be. And what we're seeing here happening now during our lifetime are our young people rising up because they want to see a better day, rising up because they know that as Africans, we deserve so much better. We've been suffering for so long as a people, so long. And we're still on that journey towards our total independence. And I'm so proud of our young people. So what I'm going to do, family, is ask our guests to introduce themselves to you. And family, as you come through the door, please do let us know that you're in the house. Let us know where in the world you are viewing us from, because, you know, we want this to be an interactive show. If you have any questions, if you have any points, any comments, you know, feel free to drop your comments in the comment section and feel welcome to post any remarks or questions that you may have to either myself or my guests. So welcome as you come through the door. First of all, let me ask our brother all the way from Kenya, Brother Pigpin, to introduce himself to the family.
Oh, greetings, Sister Shanice and our sister. Greetings to all of you. It's a pleasure to be here once again. My name is Pidgin Odumengu. Of course, I am a progressive Pan-African from Kenya. I run so many things on the Pan-African space. By profession, I'm a teacher of Kiswahili and history. I do offer my volunteer free Swahili lessons to Pan-Africans on a virtual forum every Tuesday through our philosophical and ideological class. So I teach Kiswahili as a free lesson to Pan-Africans as a means to help all Pan-Africans to actually be united with one language, is more of Afrocentric language. I am also a co-chair of a philosophical and ideological class, which is called Consciousism. Consciousism is, some people call it Nkrumahism, is the philosophy and ideology by Kwame Nkrumah for decolonizing Africa with the purpose of total liberation, unification, development in Africa. We do also have our Thursdays and Thursday classes where we read the book Consciousism and discuss it. For the last 2 years, we've been doing this consistently, every day for the last 2 years. And I do send updates every day. And we do share the uploads of all the recordings in our classes, over 100 of them, in our YouTube channel for raising the consciousness of the masses. I am also a member of Global Africa Congress, and I am actually the Kenya's Secretary General, Interim Secretary General. Global African Congress fight for the reparations for Africans across the globe. And actually, we have a Global Africa UK, which is GSC UK. And we have the Global Africa Main Mother Body, which I'm also affiliated to. I'm also a youth and capacity building director under the New Africa Young Leadership Foundation, where we help build the capacity of young people. Above all, I was a presidential aspirant, especially the youngest, in the election that this so-called President Ruto became the president. I was one of the 57 presidential aspirants, and I am also a founder and a party leader of Accountability and Transparency Party, just to mention a few. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Honor to have you. Oh my gosh, you are just incredibly busy, stretched across so many organizations, and you know, just channeling all your skills and energies into the upliftment and the advancement of us as a people. And this is the challenge that we have. We have So many in our community, but then we have, you know, the few that do so much, and then the many who do so little. Behind the scenes, you was telling me about your Kiswahili classes, and I'm going to be joining because I want to learn a little bit of Kiswahili. So, habari.
Nzuri sana.
Hey, what do I say? Is it caribou?
Yes, karibu.
Karibu! Hey, rise up, rise up. And we have Sister Sheila in the house. Welcome, Sister Sheila. Sister Sheila was one of our original panel members when we started this channel many moons ago. But our sis is always so busy. But, you know, I contacted her and I reached her out of the blue because, you know, she has her roots in Kenya. And I'm like, sis, I know you must be following what's going on. I know you must be on top of this. Do you have some time to join us on the platform? And as busy as she is, fortunately, she did have the time to be with us. So we welcome you, Sister Sheila. How have you been?
I am honored. I am honored to be here. I am very honored to be here. And I start by saying that, yes, I'm very much part and parcel of what's going on in Kenya. I have gone to the demonstrations at the embassy. I was there with other Kenyans as well. So it's a great time for us to live as Africans, as Kenyans. I am here today to talk as a Kenyan. I am a Kenyan. Today, I am proudly Kenya. Kenya is putting us on the map for good things, for, you know, the liberation movement. We are walking it. It's not a matter of just reading these things on the books about what our great teachers did. It's not about reading about, you know, Kwame Nkrumah did this and Sankara did this. Now we are saying we did this. We are doing this. So it's quite a great time to live. I am Sheila Chebet, and as Sister Shanice said, I was one of the original members that used to be in the panel many moons ago. I am here once more. I will always be here. Once Sister Shanice calls me and says, hey, do you have a moment? I will stop everything and make myself available, because I know this is a platform whereby we are reaching a lot of our people. We are awakening a lot of our people. We need more platforms like this. So when there's a platform like this that's calling you and say, hey, come, it's an honor to be here because we're talking to our people. And I take this moment to greet our people and say, welcome to this show today. We are going to have a wonderful 2 hours together. We are going to talk about Kenya. We're going to talk about Africa. We're going to talk about our people. It is indeed an honor. I'm honored to be here with my brother here, my Kenyan brother here, who it's becoming difficult to introduce myself after he's introduced himself, because I'm thinking, what do I say now? What do I say? What do I say? My brother, I am honored. I bow to the divinity in you. What you're doing is a good job, great job, wonderful job, and it's always an honor to meet a fellow countryman that is speaking the same language as you are speaking. I am a life coach. I run my own Afrocentric life coaching school called Gene Coaching School. Our focus is on the awakening of the African mind. So we focus on health, physical health. We focus on spiritual health. We focus on mental health and emotional health, basically holistic health, because we recognize that as a people, we have been bamboozled. We are operating using the wrong software, the software that was installed in our heads by the oppressor. So my school, all the things we do, we give courses, we give travel, we give money advice, we do many things. We do everything that is part and parcel of life, but we look at it from an Afrocentric lens. It is an honor to be here. I look forward to a great time today. Thank you very much.
We thank you so much, Sister Sheila and Brother Pigbin. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to have you both on this channel. And quite soon we're going to be joined by another young Kenyan, Sael. He's just preparing in the background to come and join us. So do be prepared for our brother to join us as well. So family, as you come through the door as we've requested, please do let us know that you're in the house. I was just posting a link in the background. Those of you who have the link, please assist us to get the link out to family members. We're going to be having a very serious conversation today about some revolutionary developments that's happening, as Sister Sheila said, during our lifetime. on the continent. And so, you know, we are really excited about this particular time that we are in as a people. Yes, we can say that, you know, these are, you know, some of the activities or some of the progressive movements that was happening during our lifetime as a people, and that, you know, we were there at the helm of change, because this is what we're pushing for, change. And, you know, what's happening in Kenya right now is inspiring and encouraging Africans in other countries in the continent as well. And so we're really excited about this move that's happening in Kenya. And, you know, Kenya is one of these countries that, you know, kind of prides itself now on being a kind of democratic society. It's one of these countries that says that, you know, they embrace the rule of democracy, the rule of law, you know, and therefore you would expect that their people should be able to protest. If they've got concerns, they should be able to make those concerns known, should they not? Well, we're going to be looking at, you know, how the leadership in Kenya has actually responded to the demonstrations. We're also going to be listening to what the leader, President William Ruto, has had to say about the policing of these demonstrations. We're also going to be talking a bit about the tax bill and his tax policies. And then, you know, obviously along the way, we will be responding to some of the questions that you have in the audience as well. So first of all, let me go over to the audience. Let's see if I can get into the chat and see if we've got any questions, any comments already. And then we're going to go straight over to start our conversation today about the revolutionary progression movement that's happening in Kenya. Okay, so we've got Sister Cynthia in the house. Rise up, Sister Cynthia. Great to have you in the house. Oh, we've just lost our brother Pigbin. Hopefully, he'll be back in a moment or two. Rise up, watching us from Kenya. Been a while. Oh, well, it's glad to have you back in the house, Sister Senia. We've got Jay in the house. Rise up, Jay. Good to have you in the house as well. And he says, it's good to see you again, Sister Sheila. So, you know, he's one of our long time. and someone actually said a couple of weeks ago, invite back Sister Sheila. So, you know, when this Kenya matter came up, I thought, let me see if she's available. So there are, you know, some long-standing supporters who remember the days when you used to be a regular on this platform, my sister. We want to rise up. Wanja in the house. Rise up, rise up. He says it's great to listen and talk. Definitely is. Travel with Eva. Good to have you in the house. S.A. Smith. Great to have you in the house as well. She's saying, I love the African outfits. Thank you. We've got Brother Mendele in the house saying, Yenge Lumbu Kiambote. Sister Shanice, Yenge Lumbu Kiambote. Back at you. Brother Mondele, good to have you in our house. It says Habari, Zina Watoto, Kutoka, Kenya. I hope I pronounced that okay. Rise up, brothers and sisters from the Congo Legford, he's saying. Naomi, happy to have you in the house. Family, yeah, let us know that you're in the house and where in the world that you're watching us from as well. We've got Mambai in the house, we've got Maureen in the house, and we've just been joined by our brother Sayal. So let me ask our brother to introduce himself to our audience before we go into our topic of conversation. Welcome, Brother Sayal. Please take yourself off mute and introduce yourself to the audience. Please take yourself off mute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, brilliant. We're hearing you as well, loud and clear. Welcome, welcome to the Sister Shanice Show platform. It is indeed a pleasure and an honor to have you here as a member of the panel. We're going to be talking about Kenya today. But first of all, please introduce yourself to the family.
Yeah, these are greetings, revolutionary greetings and revolutionary salute as well. As we always say that Africa first and our race first as well. So basically, these are Comrade Sayelel Mankuyo. I'm the chair of the Communalism Movement of Africa, CMA. So I'm also an African, but I reside in in a state called Kenya. So I reside in a state called Kenya, so everybody knows what I'm talking about. So thank you so much, Sister Shanice, and I'm happy to be with you. I'm happy to be with you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, my beloved brother. We thank you also for the works that you do in the community. Actually, before we go into our discussion, I just want to remind everyone that yesterday, Tuesday, was our beloved brother Patrice Lumumba's Earth Day. He would have been 99 years old. So our brother Patrice Lumumba, he was actually born on the 2nd of July, 1925 in the Congo. As I said, he would have been 99 years old today. And Sunday gone, Sunday the 30th of June, marks 64 years of independence of the Republic of Congo. But as we know, independence was in flag and name only, really. And as we also know, you know, he was such a powerful and dedicated revolutionary leader who was elected president in 1960, but tragically was brutally murdered, you know, a year later in January 1961. He was assassinated. But, you know, we remember him. We thank our ancestors for him. We thank our ancestors for rising him up again in the spiritual realm. And, you know, we thank his mother and father. Obviously, they've gone on now as well. But we thank their spirit for bringing this wonderful revolutionary leader into our midst. And may his spirit continue to rise. May his spirit continue to lead young people on the continent. They may kill a leader, but they certainly can't kill the vision. You know, we are on a path towards freedom, towards total independence, towards self-sufficiency, towards our total liberation as a people, economically, politically, in terms of education, science, health, everything. That is the journey that we're on. So let's go straight into our conversation for today, because, wow, you know, if you have been in touch, if you have been looking at social media, if you have been watching the news, you cannot have not noticed that tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of young people in Kenya have been protesting for the last two strongs, some say weeks, for the last two strongs against the leadership and rulership of President Ruto. Trending on Twitter and on other spaces has been the hashtag Ruto must go. And the other one has been to reject the finance bill, because that finance bill actually came with some really challenging taxes that would have made life even more incredibly difficult for the people of Kenya. And so the people came out and protested. And the latest news is, according to the Guardian newspaper, that a total of 39 young Kenyans have been shot dead, young protesters dead, and hundreds more, 361, they say, injured, for coming out to protest. Let's go around our audience. I want to hear what our family members have to say about the fact that, you know, 39 unarmed civilians, unarmed citizens who came out to exercise their constitutional right to protest have ended up dead. Let's start with our brothers who may very well have been on those very same demonstrations. Brother Pigbin, let's start with you.
Thank you, sister, once again. And the pleasure to see my friend, Comrade Mankuyo. Comrade Mankuyo should be known as a notorious demonstrator, a notorious protester. So he has the experience of the street more than I do. He's born in the street. I think he has been mentored by one of our also great friend called Julius Kamau, the one who has been arrested several times, including sometimes he chained himself along the street. He was trying to grab the budget that was being read by the minister, and he was alongside Sayalel. They were taken to the court, and he was out. The next day, they were back to the streets. But allow me just rekindle a bit what actually Patrice Lumumba mentioned, and is what you have in the memory of course, Patrice Lumumba. And this is becoming the foundation of the problems you are having in Kenya. Patrice Lumumba once said, as he was addressing by then colonial systems, he said that we know that Africa is neither French, nor British, nor America, nor Russian, that it is Africa. We know the objects of the West. They divided us on the level of our tribe, our clan, and our villages, and they want to create antagonists, blocks, and settlers amongst us. But the same will actually go along to what we are facing today. As much as we are having an internal problem, I am of the school of thought that, as is being explained by Dr. Yeti in his book, The Indigenous African Societies, that there are two schools of thoughts of Pan-Africans. Those who think that the African problem are external, and those who think that African problem are internal. I am a person or a believer that the problems of Africa are 70% internal and 30% external. And whatever happens internally is based on the people we have. But as you've said in the streets, as I start up this, yes, the young men and women were harmed only with an iPhone or a smartphone as their digital means of protest. They could enjoy the protest once I joined one of them. They could be taking selfies, dancing, and in fact, they danced until late night when they were dancing reggae music. To them, the protest was more of like a dance and an enjoyment session. But also, I believe consciously enough, they were making some conscious steps that not all of them might have been conscious of the effort they were making, but actually it was a silent effort that were reaching the higher realms of consciousness. And unfortunately, they were met by a system that is brutal. And this is what reminds us of John F. Kennedy quote that whoever makes peaceful revolution impossible makes violent revolution inevitable. So the government made the peaceful protest impossible. And then now it turned violent. But now we know what happened later. So that's my startup in regards to that protest. And I do really appreciate it. I saw it, and as I joined, because I joined the Thursday one. In fact, on the next Tuesday one, I bought we call it matatu. But the matatu stop could not get to town, which is a public vehicle service. The buses, they stop along the way because the roads were blocked. So we could not be able to make it to the street the second day. But to me, it was a reincarnation of the Mau Mau spirit, the spirit of fighters that is living and incarnating, and not even Mau Mau. It goes beyond to the Koitalela, Rap Samoe. It goes beyond to our great ancestors and mothers like Mekatilili Wamenza. It goes beyond Nyambigi. It goes beyond to the Namibian freedom fighters, and it even goes as far the continent to the Maroons and our brothers in Haiti and the Caribbean. That is the spirit of us. It's just a matter that we were igniting it, something that we've forgotten because of one thing called fear. And that's why one lady said, when we lose our fear, they lose their power. So fear blocked us, and now we are overcoming our fear. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Pigbin. Let's go straight over to Sister Sheila. This is how the young people on the streets of Kenya lost their fear. They were out on the streets and prepared to face live bullets and ammunition, you know, just to exercise their right to protest. But they had no fear. There was a knock-on effect. Protests were happening not just in Kenya, but in other countries around the world, in America, in Germany, here in the UK. Sister Sheila.
What I would say is that I support the protests, even though the president came and called the protesters criminals. I support the protests because it was salient issues that were being raised. So the protests went beyond the finance bill. and it became a bigger problem we were looking at, which, as we see what happened after, it's a bigger problem that affects all of Africa, not just Kenya. I would like to touch on what my brother has mentioned on fear. And I would say that fear is a big thing that has plagued the African people, not just the Kenyan people, but the African people. But for this conversation, I will go in and just talk about the Kenyan people and fear. The fear we have as a Kenyan people is fear that has been endorsed as a virtue, starting with religion. When we talk about the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. So we equate fear and wisdom. So you think fear is a good thing. Fear is a very bad thing. There is nothing virtuous about fear. It holds you back. So you find from the time these colonial oppressors came, they ruled us with fear and they instilled fear in us using religion. And so we think fear is a good thing. And then on top of that, our education system is based on fear. The whole education system is fear. The teachers are fearsome. The students are in a state of fear. The whole exam situation, whenever you're sitting exams, it's just fear when you're doing the exams, fear when the results come, fear, what is your future? So you find fear is a constant companion in the experience of growing up as a Kenyan. And then this fear is also translated in the law, especially when it comes to law enforcement. Our policemen, that even me, myself, I have checked myself sometime when I'm driving, especially when I'm driving and I see a police car in the UK, the first thing I do, whenever I see two things, whenever I see the police and whenever I see dogs, the first thing that happens, I have this fear, this adrenaline rush because of fear. And this is fear that comes from my experiences of growing up in Kenya. Because these two things, the dogs, in Kenya, well, during my time, we didn't keep dogs as pets. We kept dogs as guard dogs to chase people away, especially children, not only thieves, because thieves mainly would walk at night. So the dogs were chasing us during the day. We were just passing around, and these big houses, colonial houses that have Kenyans that have the colonial mindset or have the relatives of the colonialists who are living there, they put this big dog so that, they can keep Kenyans out that are walking by the road who happen to be children. So dogs used to chase us. So you end up growing with that fear. But now I'm talking about the police. We grow up fearing the Kenyan police to the point that when you are talking to a Kenyan person in Kenya and you give them advice that perhaps you'd give someone here, you say, when you get lost, when you do this and you see a policeman, you can ask for direction. That is something you can ask in the UK. You can ask the policeman, which direction shall I turn or what's happening? If you see people gathered somewhere, you can go and talk. When you say that, Kenyans can't relate. Because in Kenya, if you see the police heading towards you, you turn and go that way. This is not even without the protests, just as a general way of life. The police are a fearsome lot. They are people that when you meet them on the road, they may just give you some grief. They might just charge you with something. So you'll find all of us, and my two brothers here in the house can actually bear me witness how you could just be going about your business and the police just decide for one reason or another to charge you with something or to harass you. So the Kenyan police force, I do not think it was formed with the intention, its genesis. I do not think it was formed with the intention of serving the people. I think it was formed with the intention of whipping the people into shape. And this protest is actually showing that, because as the protests were happening in Kenya, the protests were happening to the UK, in the UK as well. So I can speak about the UK protests, which were happening, which I went to, and the police came, and the police had come to guard us, the protesters. So the police were sitting there in the sidelines, watching us do our thing. There was no tear gas in sight. There was no live bullets in sight. But you would say that this is the oppressor's land. This is the land of racism. This is Babylon. So you would expect, this is whereby would be, the gunshots and everything. You'd expect that to be here. You will not expect that to be home. But that is what was happening at home. And you find that because of the fear of the policemen, the generations before this Gen Z generation have sat back. This is my generation, the generation of my parents, the generation of my grandparents. We have sat back, and we've sat back because of fear. And it is this fear that I say started from our Christian backgrounds or Muslim backgrounds or religious backgrounds, which is just fear. and then the education system fear, and then now the police, when now you go out there in the world, the police come with this fear. So with this protest, the Gen Z went out there, as my brother said, they went out there with their phones, nothing, no other weapon or anything that can defend themselves. And they went out there knowing that this police force is going to come there with their guns, with the tear gas, with the bullets, but they said, you know what, we are still going. And they went and they managed to enter State House. I must say, until then, they did not have much support. And this is whereby I call upon Kenyans listening to this. This is not a Gen Z war. This is not a war, not a revolution for only the generation, this young generation. This is a revolution for everyone. So let us not leave it only for them. If they can transcend their fear, and they've been on this earth for less time than us, what is our excuse? You know, what's our excuse? So this is my call to the Kenyans watching this, the Africans watching this. This is, again, not just a Kenyan issue. This is an African issue. So I am calling upon all of us to step away from the fear. You'll find the only thing that is holding us back, whatever reason we would want to give it, it is fear. It is just a manifestation of fear. It is a manifestation of fear that is holding us back from going full scale. It is a manifestation of fear that is holding us back from even having conversations like this on platforms like this. Because you'll find that fear even gags what we have to say. And you find that I have to word my words this way, or I have to say it this way, or oh, who could be watching? You find all that is fear. And as long as we have that fear, a lot of bad things happen to us. We end up being oppressed in our own country. As the Guardian said, 39 were killed. And I feel the number could be higher. You know, again, we are waiting for the state itself to tell us how many people they killed. It's not, we're not going to get the true number. You know, we won't get the true number. So the number we always would say is probably higher than that. But again, they use that to create fear. Now, if we have a fearless generation that has come up and say, you know what, we are still going. It's better to live one day as a lion than 100 days as a sheep. I am still going. If many of us joined that narrative, joined that, you know, that movement, and put our fear aside and just went with that momentum of being fearless, change will happen by midday the next day. I give thanks.
Thank you so much, Sister Sheila. We give thanks to you as well. Better to live one day as a lion than 99 days as a sheep. And once, yes, all of our people get rid of fear, we are powerful as a people. And you're so right, you know, as I heard you talking there, this is what they do. They instill fear in us and everything. You're fearful that you might lose your job, so you don't want to speak out of turn. You don't want to go to the protest just in case your employer sees you there. Your fear, Christianity and other religions instill fear into you. And yes, our people are so fearful. It stops them from speaking up, speaking out, and standing up, you know, for what is right. But this is a fearless generation. This is a generation that recognizing that fear is false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. And so we rise up this fearless generation, and we hope that everyone, you know, can actually learn from the generation that is standing up right now. But, you know, I am still absolutely appalled by what I saw in terms of the conduct of the Kenyan police. Now, I hear, you know, what's been said in terms of the police in Kenya and how they have historically been, you know, a kind of brutal force towards their people. But we have got to be saying now, in these days, that type of policing is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. We need to know the names of every single young person that was murdered. They are martyrs, you know, they are heroes and sheroes. They stood, they were fearless and stood, you know, in the face of the knowing the brutality of the police. They still came to those demonstrations anyway and sadly lost their lives. And their lives should not be in vain. This reminds me of, you know, the massacre in South Africa that happened, that changed the course of events and that led to, you know, the abolition of apartheid. We need the names of all of those young people, and we need to be calling on the president as well, for as long as he remains as president of the country, to take responsibility and to be accountable for his police force. I listened to his address a few days ago, and he said that when he came into office, he signed away responsibility for the police, that they're not answerable to him, they're not accountable to him, that they're totally independent. So I've said, what? You've got a police force that's a law unto themselves. Somebody's kitting them out. Somebody is responsible for giving them instructions. Someone's giving them live bullets and telling them to go out and kill their own citizens. Someone, you know, is financing all of their machinery, the water cannons, the tear gas. I mean, we saw our people saying, we are peaceful, we are peaceful. We heard the chants, we are peaceful. We saw our people with their hands up. We saw our people trying to make it absolutely clear to the police that they were peaceful. Yet they were sprayed with water cannons, with dye in the water cannons, sprayed with live rounds of ammunition. You know, we have got to let the Kenyan authorities know that this type of conduct and behavior by their police is outdated, is uncivilized, and is totally unacceptable in a democracy, a so-called democratic society with a constitution, gives people the right to protest peacefully. Yeah. And as our beloved brother said, when he made that quote, something along the lines, you know, if, you know, those who make protests, a peaceful protest impossible, then, you know, they make violent protests inevitable. I've never heard that one before, but I've got that one now. And it's so true, because it was peaceful. It was peaceful. They were, let me go over to my brother, Sayal, who was actually on a couple of, well, some of those demonstrations. He'll tell us for himself. Welcome, brother Sayal. Please tell us firsthand, you know, as an eyewitness on the streets of Kenya, you know, what you saw and what your experience was as people were trying to peacefully protest.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sister Shanice and other comments in the discussion. Yeah, so basically, I think this is not something new to the people of the world, and even the people that are watching this show, that we have experienced a lot of brutal and heinous acts that is happening in Kenya. We have witnessed and we have seen in our eyes the kind of atrocities, the kind of genocide and a massacre that is happening to the innocent, harmless people of Kenya, so to Africans. So basically, I was one of the protesters, and so what my brother Pigbin has just said is that I'm even the victim of such kind of torture and arrest. I was arrested like almost 2 weeks ago, taken to court and charged. I was not charged because I killed somebody, but I was charged because I was defending the right of the freedom and the rights of Kenyans. So the only crime that I had is only airing my views or raising my voice on what is happening in Kenya, or commenting on finance, on the budget. So it was on date 1st, whereby a small group of activists whom I was also accompanying with them on 1st June this year, whereby there was a mega demolition that was happening, starting from it was something like when the flood were there were heavy rains in Kenya, so there were floods. So houses were demolished in those ghettos, in ghettos around Nairobi. So a lot of ghettos were demolished. So, and you know, the people who live in ghettos are poor people, so they had nowhere to live. So imagine, people were just living in the roads. They were just parking their own, for example, the bed, whatever they had in the houses, they are just parking on the road. So they're just sleeping on the road. So we took the streets on 1st June, around 500 youth. We took the road and we protested. We went to the parliament. We were allowed to enter the parliament. We submitted our petition. So, but it was the root of this protest that is currently now happening. So that was before the budget was read. So on the 14th, on the 13th, it was on Tuesday. That is the day that the budget was read, the Kenyan budget was read. So basically, I myself, with another comment by the name Julius Kamau, we took the street and we decided that we must demonstrate when the budget is being read. So we went there. Immediately when we went there, the Minister of Treasury, the Treasury Minister, CS, was reading the budget. So we interrupted. So we removed our placards because we had our placards. So we started demonstrating. So exactly, it didn't even took like 2 minutes. I think it was around something like a half a minute. And around 10 police and have already arrested us. They're just taking us like we are not human beings. So I think everybody has seen the video. The way that we have been escorted by those police, the way that we have been pushed by those police is a very inhuman way. So we were taken and detained in one of the police station here in Nairobi, and also taken to the Directorate of Criminal Investigation for further investigation. So Directorate of Criminal Investigation here is called DCI. It's a body that deals with crime, just like CIA in the United States of America, because that's the clear demonstration that I can use. So we were taken there. I think everybody knows the psychological torture that people usually goes through when they are taken to such places. So we were taken the whole night. So it was a very difficult moment, but it's not a difficult moment because it was a battle that we were fighting. So we were just ready for anything. So a lot of questions, we have been asked a lot of questions, a lot of harassment when we were in the police custody. Then the following day, we were taken to the court. So after taken to the court, we were charged with not unlawful assembly. We were charged with disruption. That's what they insisted. So we were charged. So basically, we were fined around. They released me on. They released both of us on the 10,000 Kenya shilling or 50,000 cash bill. So people with good faith and also civil society, they join us, they show solidarity, and the money was contributed, and we got I was released. So on that moment, I think everybody has seen the clip that is circulating on social media. There was a man who was calling a court a colonial court, and also he also said that he can even imprison 100 years because he must speak the truth. He must talk the truth. So basically, because the man said that he don't fear anything and he's ready to be jailed 100 years, and this is a colonial court we are still using in Africa, colonial courts or colonial penal courts, he was taken to a mental checkup. So he spent another 7 days in the police custody, whereby he was being transferred to a different police station here in the capital, Nairobi. So I was released on that day, on the following day, and the man was taken, the comrade was taken to 14 days mental checkup. So unfortunately, he has never been taken to a mental checkup. He was released on the 7th day. So it is something that is really funny. So they try to take him to those hospitals that are around that they do the mental checkup and also guiding and counseling. They say that they don't have those machines that can measure somebody if somebody is mad or not mad. So basically he was released. So to be short, because there's a long story, today I was in court on the same case we were just mentioned in court, and also some evidence were brought. Like we had some placards that are written, colonialism never really ended, and also the colonialism never really ended. Then I had another one that was written, imperialism is a crime against humanity. So that's the evidence that we are being charged of. So today it was brought on court. So we were just mentioned in court. So today it went well. So yeah. So basically, on what is happening in Kenya is that because I was trying to explain the root, how did this popular people's revolution started? So I don't call it a protest, but I call it a popular people revolution. The reason why I call it people's popular revolution, the first day we started around, it was around 500 people. Then the following day I go with my fellow comrades, so it was only up 2 people. The next day, it was around 5,000 people. So the third day, that is the fourth day, it was a million people. Then the last day, the one that people stormed the parliament, it was something like 2.5 billion people, 2.5 million people that took the street on that day. So that is the reason why I'm not calling it a protest or demonstration, but I call it a popular people revolution. Calling it a GenZ, it's a good strategy. But at the same time, I was in the street, I also saw old people, they were also there. There were also old people who are there, let me tell you. So, and even if you see the clip, you can see the first day, you can see old mothers that were tear gas around Kenya Parliament when they are running away. So this is not only something about young people, it is something that is about every. They even call people in the villages. They just said that also say that we in support, we in solidarity. You are in any other town about the gen from 1990 20, I think so. That
Brother Sayel, your line is sticking at the moment. You're kind of cutting in and out. You were flowing beautifully. We were able to hear everything, and suddenly your line has just started chipping in and out. Let's go back to you again now for you to continue. Let's see if we can hear you clearly. You was telling us that it wasn't just young people who were out there protesting, you know, older people, grandparents were out there as well. This is all Kenyans. This, you know, is about the entire population of Kenya. Please continue.
Yeah, so basically what I was saying is that it's about the polo. It's not only about the young generation. It's not about the GenZ people who were born from 1997 to 2013, but it's the people, Kenya's people, popular revolution. And if you observed it keenly, I've also seen that in Ghana, they're also planning whatever we have been doing. Also in Uganda, they have also applauded what we have been doing. They're also planning for their own protest, like the one that we are doing. The same thing to South Africa. Even many people like Julius Malema, they also say that we like, and also we are in solidarity with what is happening in Kenya. So this is not something about the young people. It is something about the Kenya. So the narrative that people are saying that it is the young people, basically it is not for me because I took the street. I myself, I am a witness, and I'll do it until I'll witness it. I will witness it even in court or even anywhere. If that is a ticket to heaven, if heaven exists, I'll witness that it's not only people, it's not only young people who took the street, but many people, majority of the people from every corner and also from every age set, they took the street. So basically, what I experienced in the street is that I'm telling you, the police were very brutal for us. We got a lot of injury. We got a lot of injuries. Even me, I got a leg injury, and also I got the rib injury. So, and it's not that I was telling anything. It is because I was in the street. The only weapon that I had is only the phone and also the water. I didn't even have an handkerchief or even the mask. That is the only weapon that I had on my hands. It is only the phone and the water. Those are the only things that I had in the street and my placard. So the police, the moment that people are very peaceful on the first day, on the second day, people are very peaceful. So the police, so when the police, whenever the police see people gathering, or even they see that because the crowd was very big, they start firing tear gas. And I think everybody knows that tear gas is one of the dangerous chemicals that the capitalists or even the elites usually use to kill the masses. I think everybody knows that the tear gas is a poison. The same thing to the water that they are using to pour on us. I think you have seen even the speed of the water itself, it can even kill somebody, and it has injured a lot of people. Because just imagine we are in the street, then a water cannon just come on the street, starting pouring water on us, a very hot water, and also mixed with sulfuric. So basically, it is something that is the reason why I call it heinous, and is a crime against humanity. That is inhumane. Whatever that is happening or that happened in Kenya, it is inhumane, and also is a crime against humanity. So basically, we have been told about around that 9 people have been killed. But I myself, there is a place called Githurai. Around 200 people have been massacred in the Githurai. 200 people have been massacred in Githurai. Around 100 people have been killed in somewhere called what do you call this place? Somewhere called Rongai. A lot of people have been killed, but what is there? The media is not highlighting anything or what happened. They're just saying that 7 people have been died. They have no talk about people who have been abducted. Around 600 people have been abducted since the start of this protest. Up to date, there are some families that are still crying for their people, that they are nowhere to be found. They are going to mortuaries, they are going to everywhere, every police station if they have been detained, but nowhere they'll be to be found. Today, when I was in the court, so when I finished the court session, when I was in the court, so we leave the court, after the court, so we went to somewhere called a central police station. I'm telling you, not around 180 protesters were arrested yesterday. Just yesterday, a single day. 180 protesters were arrested yesterday. They were taken by 2 police lorries, escorted by armed police. So just imagine a lorry. People are still in a lorry, but you can see that there are 2 police cars in their back escorting the same people, pointing guns directly to the lorry. So what does that mean? So I think Kenya, we've been calling Kenya a democratic country, but I don't think that Kenya is a democratic country. We wish to be, or say that to be, it is a to call it a democratic country. A lot of people have been killed. A lot of people have been abducted. A lot of people have been injured. I myself, as I'm speaking here, yesterday, a live bullet passed on my ear. They wanted to kill me on the street yesterday. It's somewhere called River Road. So it's only that my ancestors that are protecting me, but I saw this again. So actually, the bullet that was to hit me hit the door. So that's where we see this person was to kill me. So that's why I quit the protest yesterday. So basically, whatever happening in Kenya, Kenya is no longer a country. Kenya is now a mafia state. If the police can be used to slash everybody they meet in the street, arresting people who have not been even in the street, because a lot of people have been arrested and they are not even in the street protesting. The government is sponsoring goons to join us in the protest to start looting their properties. A lot of goons have been arrested yesterday, and the moment they arrested, they say that we have been paid by the government. But why are you still arresting us? You are given money by this person who is in government. I've been given 500,000 Kenya shilling to come to the protest. But because the police can't identify that this person was paid to disrupt the protest, they can just arrest anybody they found in the street. So that's how they were found. So a lot of people, out of 180 people who have been arrested yesterday, most of them were paid. So it was a goonism, and also they use goonism to counterattack the revolution that is happening. And that is the reason why you have seen that a lot of people never took the street yesterday, because it was something that many people knew that the state is using government, is using the goons to disrupt the protest. A lot of shops have been looted by the same goons. The police are watching. Yesterday I was in somewhere called Odeon. There was a shop that was looted there, and imagine the so-called anti-riot police. Anti-riot police, they were just watching the shop when it's being looted. So the goons came there, they ate some chips, because there were chips and also chickens there. There was another shop that they tried to break, but the people came and they started battling with them and fight with them, so they repelled them back. So unfortunately, they never entered inside the shop. And the police were there. Police, they were just watching. So just imagine. So yesterday we saw another very shameless, whereby the government has just also brought the casket. Nobody has ever, because I'm the people, we are the one of the people who started this process, but nobody has ever given us money or even something or even think about having a casket. Yesterday we saw around 20 caskets that was brought on the road. They were laid on the road. So the moment that the people were just bringing casket and laid on the road, the police were there, they were just watching. So the moment they come, the police were just pretending to be shooting tear gas. But if you see it critically, that is not the way that the same police, those are not the same police. The reaction that they took is not the same reaction that they took when they have been dealing with us. It's a very, very, very different reaction. So just imagine they're just waiting the casket to be placed on the road so that they can start firing tear gas, because the media has already captured. They contained the picture of the protesters, or even the initial protest or the real protest. So the government is really doing a lot to counterattack the current ongoing revolution. Again, Kenya is not they want to use Kenya as the military country. Kenya is not a military country. The work of Kenya military, according to the constitution, is to defend us in borders. That is the reason why we call it Kenya Defense Forces. So they use us to, those are the people who deal with external attack, not internal attack, not chaos. So we have seen a lot of, we have seen a shame whereby the government was also employed the Kenya Defense Forces. That is the body or the military body that deals with outside attack, external attack. So basically, when people entered parliament, and so unfortunate that there was somebody who was around in my place who was shot dead, and also if you see a brain, there's somebody who was shot on a brain in Kenya Parliament. That is somebody whom I know, is from my place. So he was shot on the head, then the brain was just away, and the guy was sleeping on the other side. It's a very horrific photo if you have seen. He was buried today. His name is Eric Shane. So it's a very shameful. Okay, so basically, they have also, that's the day that they deploy the Kenya Defense Forces in town. So something that is very, 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 very funny. Just imagine somebody is using the Kenya Defense Forces to quell the riots in the country, and that is not their mandate as the past constitution. So the KDF came, they were not fighting with the people. Instead, they were greeting people. So there was even a video when the military came and the police car came. So the police, they were trying to throw tear gas to the protesters and the military block. So I don't know who gave them a link that the military, they are more familiar with the people, or even they might have good terms with the people. So the military should be overthrown immediately from the city. Yesterday there were no military. I was in the street and there were no military presence in the street. So I think somebody give them a link that these people are friendly to these people. The military are friendly to the citizen. It's only that the police, the people that hate the citizen, the civilian, are the police, the normal police. So yesterday we never seen any police in any military in the street. So I think they have been given an ink. So what I'm trying to say, my sister Shanice and other people who are watching, and also those who are in the studio as well, whatever that is happening in Kenya is not only happening in Kenya, but let's hope that it will happen across the continent. Across the continent, no matter how they kill us, no matter how they torture us, no matter how they brutalize us. They also say that the head full of fears, the head full of fear has no space for dreams. So, and also those who, because there's a very powerful message that I give to those police when they arrested me. I told them that even if you kill me, because they were threatening to kill me in the police station. I told them, even if you kill me, you also have your day. So the police was also wondering, how am I talking to? How am I talking? So even if they kill me, let us know that, as what Sister Shanice just said, that they will never kill revolution ideas. So even if they kill Sayale today, if they kill Pigvino Dimungu, if they kill my sister there, they know that they have never killed the revolution ideas. They have killed they have killed Thomas Sankara, they have killed Michael Cabral, they have killed Sylvanus Olympio, Martin Luther King. They have killed a lot of people. They have killed a lot of Africa explanatory figures like Patrice Lumumba, the one that you have mentioned from Congo. But they will never kill, but we are still here. So you consider they have never killed the revolution idea. We are still rising. We are still uprising. So, but we also coming. So the situation in Kenya is very critical. And I think it's not a start. We don't have to fear. I can say that we're in the middle of the fight. I myself have got a lot of threats. Even now, I got somebody saying that anytime I might be arrested because of incitement. I got from information from the rare intel from one of the person who is close to the police. So, but those are mere threats. Let them arrest me, but I'm sure they won't arrest 56 million Kenyans.
May the ancestors protect you. May the ancestors continue to protect you, my brother Sayal. You know, you have given us a very graphic vision and picture of the situation on the streets in Kenya, the risks that our young people are putting themselves to by going out and protesting, the conditions on the street, the brutality of the police, you know, and your young friend whose head got blown off while he was standing next to you, and another occasion when a bullet whistled past you, just missing your head, you know, the beatings in the police station, the intimidation and the threats. This is what our young people are facing, family, when they go out and protest, and they're facing a brutal police force who have just, you know, Sister Sheila was showing us the comparison between the treatment of the police in the UK compared to the treatment of the police of the people in Kenya on a protest. But then we have, you know, when we did have major protests here in the UK, I can say that some of the police tactics that you've talked about, minus the live ammunition, the tactics in terms of them paying their criminals to start the looting. This is something that they did in London when young Black people protested in London. Why do they do that? Why were the police standing around and allowing the looters to loot? because they wanted the TV cameras. They wanted everybody on with a phone to capture the moment when their people were looting the shops. And then what happens is when their people who they have paid start looting, then some of the protesters follow as well. And then it tarnishes the image of the protests. And then what happens is people don't want to associate with the protests because now, it's being branded as criminals. The people who are protesting are being branded as criminals because, they've deliberately financed the infiltration of criminal elements into the protests. And this is a challenge, and we've got to work out how to counteract that, because the same tactic they used on the street in London when we had major protests that erupted on the streets of London when, thousands of young Black people came out and protested, and the police decided that they were going to use heavy-handed tactics. What they also did, we actually videoed white guys in hoodies. They had masks on, they had their head hooded up, and they had tracksuits on, but with we could see their legs. And these were white guys, hooded up, coming in and smashing the shops and, starting the looting. And so, we had that experience here in the UK. We didn't have the experience of the police beating up people in the cells to the extent that you're talking about that happened there. But I think we need to send out a very strong message condemning the police in Kenya for the brutal treatment of their people, and let them know that the people of the world are watching, and we think that it is totally unacceptable and, as you say, inhumane, and also a crime against humanity. It absolutely is. And I know that there's an agency out there in Kenya that's actually monitoring what's going on. There's the Kenya Law Society Council out there, and they've been visiting people in hospitals. They've been talking to victims of police brutality. They're representing people in the courts. And, they were talking about the number of arrests and the abuse of the police. And they're monitoring and they're recording and they're documenting what's going on. And, anyone that's been caught up, on the streets of Kenya that needs support, do get in touch with the Law Society of the Kenyan Council there. They are actively involved and want to hear from anybody that's been impacted. We've got a lot of people in the chat who are posting messages. They feel, the pain of you and our young people who are out there protesting. We've got people here from Nairobi as well in the house. Let's see, we've got Helen in the house. We've got Christine in the house. Please to join us. We've got Sister Maureen in the house saying that president will never be answerable to anyone. And this is a major problem. We've got a president who's saying that he signed away responsibility for the police. He said that the police are independent. They're not answerable to him. He's not accountable. We all see the live shows in America and in the UK of the police having to account to the politicians for their actions. And he's saying that his office as presidency doesn't have any responsibility for the police. That's absolutely ridiculous. We've got Ruth in the house tuning in from Kenya saying, happy to see our coach Sheila in the house. We've got Joshua tuning in from Kenya as well. Rise up, Joshua. Rise up, Brother Kwame. Good to have you in the house as well. Rising you up. We've got Jay in the house as well. Great to have you in the house. Sister Afrojamo is watching from Ghana. Drop your question, drop your comments. Brother Kwame says, I was so outraged, he said, when the police in Kenya were beating our brothers and sisters in Kenya as if they were animals. Ruto, with no remorse, organized it. So he's saying, irrespective of what Ruto had to say on that public address, he is behind it, giving the instructions. Has to be. Otherwise, if he doesn't have control of his economy, and we know of his police force, and we know he doesn't have any control over his economy and his taxes and everything else, why is he president? We've got Susan in the house saying, I am Kenyan, and there's no revolution without a price. Indeed. We've got Natron in the house, rise up, saying, once you saw Ruto rolling out the red carpet for the British criminal Charles, it was a warning to Kenyans who he serves. S.A. Smiths is in the house. He's saying Ruto seems to believe running the country like the Europeans is the right way. He uses the same talking points and behavior. Strange to see. Indeed. You know, a black face, but with a white mind. I see that as well, Sister Smith, as well. Brother Kwame Aboje said, it is so pathetic and so sad that William Ruto doesn't know what he is. Rise up, Sister Irene in the house. Lots of comments. I'm going to come back quite soon again to some of the comments in the house. We've lost Brother Sael, but hopefully he will be coming back. We're going to go over now to talk about the budget and the borrowing. According to the Star newspaper, back in July 2023, William Ruto had already borrowed 1.2 trillion within 9 months. He borrowed 1.2 trillion within 9 months. This is a president who borrows and borrows and borrows. When this report was written, it said up to September, since September 2022, he had borrowed 419 billion shillings from the domestic market. And then he went back to the international market and his office borrowed 716 billion. And then he went and he borrowed 87.7 billion in December 2022. Then in May 2023, his administration borrowed 127 billion. So, and then he went and borrowed 141 billion from the IMF. So this is a president, it seems, who borrows so much and has been borrowing so much. And then what I'm hearing from the people is that there's very little to show for the borrowing, very little in terms of job creation, in infrastructure development, roads, ports, airport expansions, industry. There's nothing like that to show for the level of borrowing that has been happening. And it says here in this report that a total of 50.4 billion was dispersed in September and 121 billion in October and 65.2 billion in November. And it just goes on. This is in a report and an article written by someone called James Mbaka of the Star. I mean, those are colossal amounts of borrowing. And so what does he want to do? Now, then he decided in his budget that he was going to tax the people, heavily tax his people, to finance the repayment that he now needs to make on these loans. But as a result of the demonstrations, he was forced to drop the finance bill. However, as a result of dropping the finance bill, a couple of days ago when he did the address to the nation, he says, well, now that I had to drop the finance bill and I can't raise the taxes from taxing the good citizens, I'm going to have to go and borrow 2 trillion. And he said, and even though I'm going to borrow the 2 trillion, it means now that I can't pay the teachers, the 46,000 or so teachers, I can't pay them, I can't pay the farmers. We're going to have to be importing potatoes, even though we grow potatoes. We're going to have to be importing onions, even though, the farmers are producing onions. We're going to have to, he was talking about all of these, really awful austerity cuts that he is going to be making because he's going to have to go back now and borrow 2 trillion. And he said in the interview, that he only has 2 choices. He can either just raise the taxes or borrow. Those are the only 2 ways that he knows that he can run his economy and finance the administration and the departments. That suggests to me that, he is being either very badly advised or he's just not listening to the advice on what the options are available to him. But before we go into the options, I just want to hear from my panel members what your thoughts are about his tax bill and what he's now saying he's going to have to do as a result of dropping the tax bill and the level of borrowing. Let's go to our brother Pigbin. Rise up, brother Pigbin. I mean, the level of borrowing is astronomical. What say you?
Trying to remember the quote that our forefathers never fought very hard for us to be taxed heavily. Taxation is like putting a price for survival of a life. Some people try to say it's important that you must tax people to run a government, but who did so-called God tax to create them? Governments of Africa, fortunately, are blessed with resources. Instead of taxing people, why don't you exploit your resources to run your government? You know the history of tax. It started with the heart tax. It was breast tax. I don't know if you have a breast, you should pay tax for that. It was, I don't know, house tax. It was so colonial, so dark history that people came to our land, then imposed their policies that we pay being in our land, something that we never used to pay before. No African society used to pay tax. Tax to who? Now we have been paying tax for 60 years to a failed state that has never translated anything tangible as far as the welfare of our people is concerned. I pray to God that I be with the president in 2027. I want it to be 2022, but I'm sure I will remove Ruto 2027 if all goes well. To show the people that if you look at the reports in London Stock Exchange, a company in Kenya that runs oil called Tullow Company control 961 million barrels of oil, 961 million barrels of oil in Kenya. There's 100,000 barrels of oil just recently in a scandal was costing 13 billion Kenya shillings. 100 barrels is 13 billion Kenya shillings. And somebody is controlling 961 million barrels of oil in Kenya. How much is that? Is that not enough to run your country? And this is the same thing that goes across to all African states. The resources are immense in Africa. In fact, Africa has made Europe where it is with our resources. But instead of exploiting our resources, we are taxing our people to run a government. That's a very retrogressive mentality. Well, the West know very well where they get the resources. They come for our mineral. We will wait for them to take our mineral and then we tax our people, whom we don't give any job to even produce anything productive. So taxation, as I've said, is very brutal. It's retrogressive. It's not African. Taxation is colonial. And it's a colonial way to try to control us, not to develop us. And I don't think the Mau freedom fighters went to the forest just to have a government that will tax its people. So as I will say, Ruto attempted taxation, but it should be so shameful to tax even natural occurrence of women like sanitary pads. So you tax nature. Well, they are giving free condoms as protective for sex, free. They tax sanitary pads, which is not a free will. Just tell me which kind of a government is that? A government that has a woman called First Lady, seated somewhere as a First Lady, seeing ladies being taxed for sanitary pads. A government that has women in parliament called women representative, representing who, if they cannot talk about this oppressive taxation meant on their fellow women. Then you go extra mile to tax kids on their pampers. So what did the kids do wrong to the Ruto government? Or does he not want people to give birth to more kids? It's very expensive to be a parent in Kenya today. Like in our younger generation, some of us who are trying to raise families now, because we pay for pampers every day and every night. You say eco-levy, but why don't you have a new way to actually recycle the so-called pads or pampers than taxing them? Now you go XML even trying, even though it was not in the bill, but it was part of the government proposal, that you want to convert our lands to be on lease, including ancestral land. being taken back to lease agreement. So we are leasing our ancestral land to who? To government. Which government? When did the government got right over our land? The land belonged to people. If the white man, through their so-called doctrine of discovery and the papal bull doctrines of 1452, that instructed them that they go conquer territory, and when they conquer, they make it their territory. Then we became a British company territory, East African British Company, in 1902. So we are a company property of Britain. They don't take over all our lands to make it their land. Then they leave that company to so-called country and your colonial state. They still want to retain the right over our land. And now want to say that they lease us our land. They lease us as free. Who paid God to have land? Or who paid our ancestor to be given land? Nobody. So as I can say, this was actually one of the stupid moves. And it's one of the things that I think, as I've said, I'm not talking because I'm a politician. But I think it is a practical way to convert or divert our attention to what is important. Using the resources underneath and exploiting the manpower we have, a country can run without taxation. The country can exploit more of its resources and wealth and run a country that can work for the people. Look at what Gaddafi did for Libya. Paying the people, feeding the people. But a country that has been taxing people for 63 years, still up to date, people cannot access clean water. There's no school, there's no hospital. While politicians drive expensive vehicles, route of travel like a tourist, is a flying president using our money. And that's what he wants to tax us, to give money for the office of his wife to pay for us. Paying for what? That is what you call idealism. In our consciousness level, we have idealism and materialism. The white men and some of us still believe on idealistic approach to solve African problem. But the real African problem requires materialistic approach. The problem is not God. God never cast us. The problem is us not protecting what we have as our wealth that was given to us freely to exploit and develop ourselves. So we are looking unto God to pray that God forgive us for our sins. God bless us so that we go on. God help so and so. God does not help lazy men like that, even if God was to help. So basically, that's what I can give my approach in regards to that translation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have to agree with you on that there, Brother Pigbin. His focus is on taxing the people. There are over 200, I got here in a report that Kenya hosts 226 foreign multinational corporations. You gave an example of just one. These multinational corporations are making millions in US dollars and billions in US dollars in Kenya. Are they being taxed? What sort of tax, corporation tax, are they being charged, if anything at all? These are companies that are turning over hundreds of billions per year in Kenya, and are not significantly contributing towards the country at all. They seem to be untouched. But yet he's coming with a bill that is planning to tax people and women, even sanitary towels and Pampers. The amount of money that these companies are actually earning in Kenya, if they were to even be taxed 10%, 20%, the income that he could get from these multinational foreign companies is huge. And they wouldn't even miss those millions or a few billions, because they're making hundreds of billions, some of them. He needs to look there as well for taxes. Also, as you said, Kenya, is a minerally rich country as well. I've got a note here. It says mining in Kenya yields high-grade quantities of gold, copper, ilmenite, and titanium. Kenya is also an important source of non-metallic materials, including soda ash, limestone, salt, niobium, fluorspar, and fossil fuels. And you've also got some rare earth materials. Apparently, Kenya holds massive potential as a top rare earth minerals producer after the discovery of deposits worth 62.4 billion. in Marimba Hill, which is the coastal part of the country. And of course, there's all that natural heritage as well that Kenya has that, could potentially make it a huge tourist attraction if it was to build the infrastructure and the hotels and the eco lodges, etc. And there's so much more on the belt with Mozambique as well. I've got here, that Kenya has minerals such as kyanite, corrododon, graphite, wollastonite, I call it marble, asbestos, fluorspar, magnesite, calorine. I mean, there's so many variety of gemstones that have been found, on that belt that runs from Mozambique through to Kenya. Huge number of different types of minerals that are associated with granite rocks as well. I mean, clearly, a huge amount of untapped resources there. And what the government ought to be doing with some of that money, that it's borrowing, is investing in setting up, training centers next to the mines. So you've got the mine fields, you've got the training centers, you've got the industries that are actually refining the produces. You've got people who are getting the skills training to sell the produces. There's so much potential. I've just listed there, probably about 20 or so different minerals, and we know that what's happening through the back door is that these multinational companies are allowed to just plunder the resources, ship all of the resources, all of the minerals out of the country, and then refine it in their own country, sell it back to Africa, and make huge amounts of profits that the people in the West are actually enjoying and benefiting from, whilst the country who owns that wealth is not benefiting at all, because all they've done is given, a few crumbs to a few black elites, and they are allowing the stripping of their resources. So really, the tax is just the tip of the iceberg. This tax bill has just really exposed the extent to which I think the government is not in control of its economy. It's clearly being dictated to by the IMF and the World Bank, around the borrowing and the taxing. And it's clearly not getting any good advice about what to do with its own resources and how to maximize income from its resources. It's not getting any advice, or if it is, it's not taking it in terms of taxing the multinational corporations. And why are they not investing into developing national industries as well that could be owned by the people? There's so much more that this government ought to be doing with the resources and the minerals and the wealth and the riches of the country that it clearly is not doing. I think this budget, crisis in Kenya has just exposed really, on the one hand, the brutality that the government is prepared to mete out on its own people using the police and the army. And on the other hand, the extent to which it seems to be turning a blind eye or is totally ignorant of the extent to which their country is being exploited by these multinationals. And don't even get me started about the ownership of the land in Kenya, something that needs to be addressed. Let's go over to Sister Sheila. Sister Sheila, you've heard from our brother Sael. He had so much to say about, what's actually happening on the ground in the demonstrations. He was there when people's houses were being bulldozed down. People worked all their life to raise money to build their house, and then the government comes and bulldozes it down and leaves the people in the streets with nowhere to live. Through to, the whole spark of these demonstrations, and then the brutality of the police in response to these peaceful demonstrations. And now it seems they're sending in, criminal elements to try and discredit and tarnish, the reputation of the peaceful protests and to put people off from joining. Sister Sheila, what say you about all of what's going on and has been said so far?
Hey, there's so much to say, such little time. As usual, I'm the storyteller, so I will say story to illustrate this. When I first came to the UK, I came to the UK as an adult. So when I came to the UK, I'd come from Kenya, and in Kenya, it's not a credit society, so we don't take credit. When you buy anything, it is your money. You bought things using your money. So it's not like here where you buy now, you pay later. So I didn't know about that concept. I didn't have a credit card, didn't have overdraft. Whatever money I had was the money that I had. And I knew how to cut my coat according to my cloth. So if I had £100, I would plan with £100 in mind. If I had £20, I would plan with £20 in mind. So it was with that money in mind, I went to Argos to buy something. Never been to Argos before. We don't have anything like that in Kenya. Reached there, and when I went to buy, I was going to buy a watch. And when I reached there, I was told, oh, there's an offer. They were selling a TV. I did not have a TV. I was new. I was a student. They said, oh, there's an offer here for a TV. A new TV had come, and they said, there's an offer here. You can buy now. You can pay later. No interest. Just pay later. I said, oh, really? I said, yes. I said, so how do you do it? They said, oh, come, let's run your name through this. They did a credit check, and I passed it. And they said, okay, so what do you do? Say, oh, if you want the TV, just sign here, and you can go with the TV. I said, so when do I pay it? They say, a year from now. So you're taking it on first so much. You pay it in first so much next year. I said, so how much do I pay? Exactly the cost you're buying it now. There's no extra interest. And I thought, yeah, it's a long time. I said, yeah, sure. Remember, I'd gone to buy a watch for £15. I left with a TV for £400. That's not it. So I left with the TV. They said, yes, here's the TV. And then they said, oh, if you buy the TV, you cannot, there's something called Blu-ray, I didn't even know what that thing is. But the person really sold it to me and said, you also qualify for this because you've been given the store card that has a value, I think £1,200. And the TV was only 400. So it's told me you have this remaining. I decided, let me finish the money, So I left there with a TV, with something for the dining. I left with a lot of things, even I paid for the delivery. I qualified for free delivery and all those things I was going to pay a year later. So they told me, don't worry about this. You pay a year later, interest free. And I thought a year is a long time. So I took it. And then when I went in the house, I realized, it's not only Argos that does this. Every other store has a store card. I now made it a point of my life going to every store card and putting my name down. I bought beds from Oak Furniture Land, Oak beds, Oak dining sets. I kitted out my house, everything in debt, all of it to be paid a year later. A year later reached. The letter started landing on my door. And the year later when it reached, even with all the best interest, I had more debt than I could pay. But I cannot say that I did not know I was getting into debt. I knew I was getting into debt. But at the time, because I was being given freely, and a year looked like it was so far away, so I was bring. When the letters started coming, and they come with a ferocity, one after the other, and they say you have to pay. And then they charge you interest like 200%. If the year is over, the interest they're now charging you is 200%. So that TV that I bought for £400, that I'm supposed to pay £400, now it is £2,000. I cannot afford it. Now remember, they're coming for the TV, they're coming for the beds, the mattress, the duvet, everything, they're coming for it at the same time because they took things around the same time period. I was now heavily in debt, and the letters were now stressing me, and they call you and they send people around, they send bailiffs around your door, and the court letters start coming. And it was a mess. That is the time I lifted my hands up and I said, I need help. Luckily, the UK government has help for people that get into debt like this, and they take you and the experts come and they consolidate your debt and they call elsewhere and they say, this one will talk to them, they write it off, this one, this and that, and they kind of consolidate. But I learned my lesson. Never again, me and debt, we don't go on the same path. Credit cards, I do not want to see them. Store cards, I don't want to see them. Overdraft, even I don't want to see them because I learned my lesson. Now, our president looks like he was in the same situation, but for me, it was a personal issue. For him, it's a country issue. So it seems like he got into this position of power as a president, and he was offered all these loans. Like I was offered these store cards, and he said, yes, this one, and that one, and that one, and that one. And now he got them. We do not see the evidence of it. Certainly, I don't see the evidence of it in Kenya. I do not see where all that money went. Now they've come to ask for money. The same way my credit card people came to ask for money. But now instead of him sitting there and saying, like I did, I need help, he's saying, you know what? Let us overtax the people. This means we have someone who does not really care for the people, someone who is not there to serve the people, someone who is not there as a patriot of the country or the people. When you have someone like that sitting there, that is someone that cannot continue sitting there. Whatever measures that have to be taken, this process cannot be led by him. It cannot. That's the first story. The second story I will say, I travel a lot. One of my pastime, like when you spoke to me, Sister Shanice, on the weekend, I told you I traveled. I'd gone to Serbia. So I travel, sometimes I travel alone, sometimes I travel with people. And this one time I traveled with a Kenyan lady and we went across Europe. So different countries went to different airports. So we were together for 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, I think we went to more than 20 airports. And one thing she said, and this remained with me, she said that in Kenya, we need to send the people at the airport, the people that work at the Kenyan airport, the main airport, is called Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. We need to send them for benchmarking in Europe. Because she had faced such a pleasant experience of using the airports in Europe, no one bothers you. You go in Kenya, if you go in Kenya today, they would want to tax whatever it is you've brought in the country. They would want to say, okay, that phone, is it yours or is it new? Open your bag, let us see what you bought. They want to tax. But anyway, you get such a hard time when you are going through the airport in Kenya. The people there are so angry, or they're like the Kenyan police. They're not for the people. They're there to just frustrate your travel, your journey. So this lady I was traveling with said that the Kenyan people, the people that work in the Kenyan airports, need to come benchmarking in Europe to see how they're supposed to be welcoming to people coming in. Their work is not there to frustrate people. Why I'm giving this example here, I would like the people of Kenya, certainly the people in leadership, the people in charge of finance or budgets and all this, to do some benchmarking to countries that are tax-free. If you just go on Google and say countries that don't pay tax, you'll get more than 20 countries will come up. Why don't we go and benchmark? Why don't we go there and see how come these countries, and these are rich countries, they're countries that are doing well. And when I looked at that list, I found countries like Qatar, Oman, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Somalia, Wallis and Futuna, Andorra, Maldives, Malta, Nauru. These countries, I don't think they are as well resourced as Kenya is. They are tax-free. They don't charge, they don't tax their people. So why don't we go and do some benchmarking there and see how come they're running the economy without taxing? Well, why aren't we doing that? Because sometimes you can't know, but there are people who know. Why don't we go and do that? So I completely disagree with Mr. President saying that he has only two options. And one is to overtax the people or to go and borrow some more. No, even from just your comments, Sister Shanice, when you spoke before I came to speak, you gave so many other options that were there. So those are not the two options that he only has. There are many, many options that are there as well, including the option that I say it's called liwe liwalo. People that understand Kiswahili will understand what liwe liwalo means. My brothers here will understand. Liwe liwalo is what will be, let it be. That is whereby you raise your hand, you say, listen, I don't have the money. My people have refused to be overtaxed. The country people have refused. I took your debt, but you know what? Write it off as bad debt. You know, we need to reach somewhere whereby we tell them, write it off as bad debt. We're fighting for reparations, you know, for the crimes done against our people during that time. It's not being paid. You know, things are not being done. There's so many things that these people we owe money owe us. There are so many things they owe us. But like some of even the treaties, some treaties that we have in Kenya, there were treaties that were signed during the colonial times, even just being in the Commonwealth, just Commonwealth itself, yeah? Some things, some trades that we have to honor, like in Kenya exports a lot of things. So some trade that we have to honor, we can only deal with the colonial masters or colonial oppressors simply because of some treaties that were signed a long time ago. There are some counties in Kenya, you go like the Laikipia County, whereby we have this children of the colonial oppressors that own tracts and tracts of land that have got so many resources, including animals, including wildlife. And the minerals, you're saying, they own it and it's theirs. The country cannot touch them. We have so much leverage. So we need to reach that place whereby we say, liwe liwalo, whereby we are saying, listen, we took the debt. We are not in a position to pay. You know what? Call it bad debt. You also owe us this and this and that. As in, we need to reach that place whereby we have to behave like a sovereignty. And we have to say, you know what, we cannot keep on taking more money, or we cannot keep on letting the debt accrue or the interest accrue. And we certainly cannot tax the people. As my brother said, so it was an unnatural, it's an un-African thing. It has never worked for us. From the time we started taxing people to now, we are still called a developing country. There are some problems we still have that we should not be having, and yet tax is happening. I can clearly say the tax is not working. It isn't. So we should reach somewhere where we're saying, you know what, we shouldn't have the tax, and we should tell the creditors that gave us the money, you gave a nation that was struggling, you added debt on top of debt. Bad debt. That's your problem. We don't have the money to pay. The citizens that I serve have said there is no money. So you know what? Put wherever you want to do, blacklists, wherever, leave us alone. It's bad debt. You give debt on top of debt. We need to reach that place. But whichever the case is, we cannot have the man there spearheading this process. When someone has already failed in doing something, you cannot give him more responsibility, because here right now he's already talking of borrowing more. So at this point in time, what I would say, it's unfortunate about the things that are happening. Fortunate in the way that we are having these conversations, we are refusing it. Before, Kenyans have been sitting ducks. We've sat as decisions have been made. Now we are taking interest. We are educated about this. We know what is happening, and we are standing up and saying no. We are ready to lose lives to say no. So that's a good thing. But the bad thing is that we cannot continue. The bad thing is that we cannot let the person sitting there continue with this process of getting us out of this debt quagmire. It cannot happen. I give thanks.
Ashe, we thank you too, Sister Sheila, for those stories, thanks for sharing. But you're absolutely right. Now, this president who doesn't think out of the box, who's either really badly advised or just ignorant of the wealth that he's actually sitting on, is planning on borrowing more money to get the country in even more debt. When he did his address, he was saying that the 3 trillion or so that he managed to raise, about 1.2 trillion or so went towards paying the interest on the debt. He's not even paying the debt. He's just paying the interest on the debt. And yet he's borrowing more money on top of that. I absolutely agree with you. He should, the nation should be saying absolutely no to borrowing. We don't want you borrowing in our name. We can't see anything as a country that you're doing with the money that you're borrowing. And we're not prepared to take on that liability. And agree, they need to write it off as bad debt. Like you say, they owe us big time. And all of these hundreds and millions of acres of land that they're sitting on, it's time to take back that land as well, so that the people can put it to use and earn an income from that land. Brother Pigbin, you've got your hand raised.
Yes, you talked of debt. It is not a new thing. I wanted just to remind us that Thomas Sankara had a very serious position on debt. And he was urging all African heads of state to support him on this. This was in 1986 OAU conference. I think it is 84. And permit me just to mention just a paragraph of what he said, and this should be a message to the president and anybody who wants to defend borrowing. He said, we think that debt has to be seen from the perspective of its origin. Debt origins come from colonialism's origin. Those who lend us money are those who colonized us. They are the same ones who used to manage our states and economy. They are the colonizers who indebted Africa through their brothers and cousins, who are the lenders. We have no connection with these debts. Therefore, we cannot pay it. Debt is neocolonialism, in which colonizers have transformed themselves into technical assistants. We should rather say technical assassins. They present us with financing, with financial backers, as if someone's backing could create development. We have been advised to go to these lenders. We have been offered nice financial agreement. We have been indebted for 50 to 60 years and even longer. That means we have been forced to compromise our people for over 50 years. Under its current form, controlled and dominated by imperialism, debt is a skillfully managed reconquest of Africa, intended to subjugate its growth and development through foreign rules. Thus, each one of us becomes the financial slave, which is to say, a true slave of those who have been treacherous enough to put money in our countries with obligation for us to repay. We are told to repay. But is it a moral issue? It is not about this so-called honoring of the repayment. And we are not repaying it. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely agree. And it is also, I would add, a very skillfully manipulative scam, a way to indebt countries, as you say, for 50, 60 years. And then when the countries can't pay the debt, they're like, okay, well, we'll come in and we'll take your oil as payment. We'll take your gold as payment. And we'll enslave your people again so that they can work for our industries for pittances. Agree. We should refuse to pay those debts. We are just 10 minutes away from the top of the hour. So everybody in the chat, we want to thank you so much for your contribution. Let me just bring in one or two comments from the chat, and then I'm going to give my guests just 2 minutes each to wrap up. There were more questions I had to ask, but the time has just gone so fast as it does. But let's remind ourselves, of the size of Kenya. Kenya is actually more than twice the size of the UK. And when you consider the mineral wealth that Kenya has, and I was reeling off some of the gems, that Kenya has, and I didn't even talk about the green economy as well, the land that it could be using for agriculture as well. When you think of all of that potential that Kenya actually has, any president who's sitting on all of that potential and not realizing it for the benefit of the nation and the people doesn't deserve to be the president of the country, in my humble opinion. Rise up, first time in the house, who says, greetings spiritually from Chicago, USA. Give thanks to the Most High Creator. Rise up, good to have you in the house, first time as well. Let's quickly run through. Goddess, a warrior is in the house, saying much love and respect to brothers and sisters in Kenya. Oh, my brothers and sisters in Kenya, you've got all of the diaspora around the world. Africans outside of the continent are standing with you. We're standing with you. First time spiritual accountabilities. Who voted for them? Take care. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have to ask. We do have to ask our president. We voted for you, not for all of these advisors who are wrongly advising you. It's as if, in terms of the police force, you've got external agencies managing and running your police force and are in control of the police, in control of the army. You've got external advisors who are in control of the economy. You're using, the old European legal system. You're using the European colonial land system, tax system. It's like, hang on a minute, we're Africans. This is Africa, and we want to do things the African way. Either do so or move out the way. And I think most young people are saying Ruto must go. Goddess is saying Ruto and the wicked government has blood on their hands on the number of Kenyan brothers and sisters standing up for justice as well. Has blood on their hands for the murder of the Kenyan brothers and sisters who were standing up for justice. Habari Gani, Habari Yako, says Mikey. Habari Yako, brother Mikey. Okay, let me go to the my guests and give them 2 minutes each, and then I'll scroll through and see if there's any questions. Let's go over first of all to brother Sael. Thank you so much for joining us today, my brother, and giving us such, a heart-wrenching account of what's been going on in the streets. We stand with you. We stand with all of the supporters You know, we've seen now how they're using these dirty tactics to try and dirty the protesting. But, you know, we know that you stand strong, and we will get through this. Brother Sayel, let me give you 2 minutes to just wrap up and leave some final words with our brothers and sisters. Please take yourself off mute. Beloved, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So what I can say is that whatever that Kenya is undergoing is exactly what is Sudan, what is Democratic Republic of Congo, Central Africa Republic, Cameroon, mostly to mention Amazonia, and also Western Sahara. So basically, this is not something new in Africa. It is something that is going in every Africa state, in almost every Africa state. So it's only that ours has just been seen because we have decided to take the street and also try to say that enough is enough. So as we Kenyans, we have said that we have a colonial constitution, and the colonial constitution says that sovereign power belongs to the people. They can practice it directly or indirectly. So now I think we are, not I think, but I hope that we are in the parameters of the constitution under the Article 1. So we are practicing it indirectly. So, and this is the reason why you have seen that they are just using excessive force or anything they can to make sure that they have stopped us from practicing the constitution directly, as what the Kenya Constitution said, Article 1 of the Kenya Constitution. So, generals, fighters, and comrades, it is time for us to fight for Africa. Remember that our ancestors fight for it, no matter the little independence that we have. But they have undergone a lot, and they have sacrificed their lives. Nobody should scare you. Nobody should tell you that you are going to die in the battle. Nobody should tell you that you'll be arrested. Our ancestors got arrested. Our ancestors did have guns, but for the little guns that they had, they utilized it. Now for you, you have been given social media. You have been given everything. You can support your brother, whether you're in North America, South America, or any part of the world. You can support your brother. You can make awareness. You can conscientize people on what is happening in Kenya or what is happening in DRC Congo. So basically, make sure that you have played your role. I repeat whatever Samora Machel said, that it is essential to create a new society for the progress of the nation. So basically, let's create a different thinking mentality in our new society. This is a new society. Let's have a different thinking. Let's stop saying that we don't have guns to fight them. We have the power, we have the energy. We are protected by our ancestors. So it's not something that we should say that we can't do it. So brothers and sisters, wherever you are, thank you for showing your solidarity to Kenya. This is no longer opposition. The movement, the revolution that is happening is no longer opposition. It is a people revolution. So just support it. Don't take it as there's somebody who's supporting it. Just know that it is the people who are supporting themselves. It's the people who have said enough is enough. And I finish by saying that my stance still remains. Nothing has changed. Despite him dropping some bills or some amending the finance bill, but nothing has happened. Things remain to be the same. My stand remains that Ruto must go. Ruto must leave the power. We need a civilian transitional government. Let's fight until our last minute. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashe. Well, if he's not in control of the police, not in control of the army, not in control of his economy, not developing the country, you know, trying to tax the people like mad, borrowing the country to the point of, you know, putting it in debt for the next 60 years, have to agree with you. You know, we can't have someone as irresponsible as that as president of the country. Absolutely agree. And I stand with the brothers and sisters of Kenya in their demand that Ruto must go. I'm just going to throw this out there as well. We've got, countries like Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, who are coming together and creating an empire, working together. Just would Kenya see themselves, Kenya see themselves reaching out to someone like Ibrahim Toure to be, to have more of an influential leadership role in Kenya in place of William Ruto? I mean, this is Africa. We don't have to play by their rules, the neo-colonial rules, What about calling in someone like Ibrahim Traore, who's putting the resources of his country to use and is developing his army in a way that they're going to be protecting the people and not attacking and brutalizing their people? Let's give Brother Pigbin a minute now. We're almost at the top of the hour. Brother Pigbin, some closing remarks. And do you want to touch on the
I'll be very quick. Starting with Traore, when he was attending the conference in Russia, he said, our young people and my generation do not understand why we borrow. So my generation do not understand why Ruto should borrow, and that's why we want him out. Going to Sankara, he said very well that we must dare to invent the future. And we, the younger people of Kenya, are daring to invent the future we want for ourselves. If you just quote him further, he says that our revolution is not a public speaking tournament. In fact, our revolution is and should continue to be a collective effort of revolutionaries to transform reality, to improve the concrete situation of the masses of our country. And finally, to what Nkrumah said, is that revolution is brought by men. In this case, it was biased. Men and women of thought, and men and women who think of action and act as men and women of thought. And the revolution is about against the old order and is a contest for the new order. The younger people are bringing down this Babylonian system and they want to create a new order, a fair country, a country for all, a country where everybody can prosper. Therefore, if that is our crime, so be it. We are ready to take all the consequences that come with our crime. But let's remember one thing. Sankara still said it took the madmen of yesterday for us to act with clarity. If what they see in us is madness, so be it, because we don't want to live in a sober country. If sober or sobriety takes to this state of a country, we don't want it. Let us be the madmen of today so that we can help the next generation to act with clarity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, the young people of today are wanting to see a new society, a fairer society. Absolutely stand with you on that. Goddess Warrior is saying, what's the point of borrowing money and doing nothing with it? Ghana also has the same problem. And I think that's the biggest, one of the biggest complaints that the young people have, borrowing so much money, putting the country in debt and not doing anything with the money that the people can see as well. And she asks a question on where does the IMF get its stolen money from? Don't we know the answer? Let's get some final closing remarks from Sister Sheila.
My closing remarks are, first of all, you cannot stop an idea whose time has come. The time for the revolution has come. We've had several revolutions before. We were colonized. We have that pseudo-independence. It's not fully independence, but we somehow got our lands back. We have had slavery, whereby we were enslaved. We are free. That's why we can even have conversations like this. All this were not handed to us. It was revolution that led us to this place where we are. And even simple rights that we have here and there, it was revolution. Power is taken. It is not handed over. Someone in power does not hand over, you take. So we're going through that process. We're going through that. It's like going through birth. We're going through that process. We are birthing a new nation. We are birthing a new Africa. We cannot stop midway. The baby will die. The mother may also die. So we have to go through that process. We have to go through that labor process. We are going through it. As well, we have to know we are not alone. We are surrounded physically by other Africans and spiritually by our ancestors. So we don't walk alone. We walk surrounded, knowing that what we are doing from a good place, from a place whereby we are taking our power back. So let this be a message of hope. Because sometimes when you hear of these massacres and you hear of police arrests and you hear of these things, you may give up and say, you know what, it's too much for me. No, we are on the last stages of this people's revolution. We're going to get our results. So far, results have been coming in. We've had the president concede. The president is normally very arrogant, doesn't like to give in. We've had him speak. We've had in Kenya, my brothers, you can bear me witness. We've had members of public. We have had members of parliament. Why does Sister Shanice go? Okay, I'll continue talking. We've had members of parliament become humble. Yes, Revolutionary Mankuyo. We've seen them become humble, haven't you? They have become, members of public have become humble. Members of parliament have become humble. We've had them apologizing. We've had them, changing the talk. It may not be permanent, but suddenly results are happening. So what I would say is we shouldn't give hope. We shouldn't give up. We can't. We've already started. We cannot give up. We have to continue right to the very end. And the end here is that we have to take our power back. Sister Shanice, are you there or have you dropped out?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you not see me? We have to continue. It is time and we are in for the long haul. I give thanks.
Thank you so much, Sister Sheila. Thank you, Brother Pippin. Thank you, Brother Sayal. Thanks to everyone in the audience as well. Let me just pull up a final comment. This one's from Lumkawa, who says, the recent flooding in Kenya, that so many people lost their lives. This flooding has been going on for years. And now Mr. Ruto is saying it's climate change. No idea what he will do. He must go. I think the sentiment all round tonight is that this is a president, I think, who's clearly out of his depth and therefore must go. The young people of Kenya, they certainly want to birth a new Kenya. I love that, what you said there, Sister Sheila. They are birthing a new society. They are birthing a new way of life. They want fairness, equality, they want access to their resources, they want fair distribution of their land, fair distribution of the resources. The way that the government has been treating them in the country is totally unacceptable. We understand that lives have been lost, but those lives that have been lost, let's make sure that they don't die. They will only die if we forget them. But if we remember the names of every single one of those who have died, let's put their images and their names on posters and let's make sure that they don't die, because we're going to keep their names alive so that they will always be remembered as those who were in the labor room giving birth to this new society. Ruto must go and move out the way so that this new society can be birthed. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the Sister Shanice show. I could easily go on for another hour, but we're not going to. Our guests have got other appointments straight after this one as well. But we will be inviting them back for an update. Sister Sheila, great having you on board, just like the good old days. Brother Pigbing, great to have you back. Brother Sayal, great to have had your contribution as well. Stay safe, stay powerful.